Okay, let's start with a thought. What if a classic mystery novel, one we all know for its brilliant detective, what if it also held up a kind of dark mirror? A mirror to the anxieties, the moral ambiguities of an empire right at its peak.
Right. How can a story be so entertaining, so compelling, but at the same time make us question things, make us unsettled about justice, about identity?
Exactly. Today we're embarking on, well, a fascinating exploration of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's iconic 1890 book, The Sign of Four.
And our mission here in this deep dive is really to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from a really thorough rhetorical look at this book.
Yeah, and it's a unique experience for you, our listener. You're hearing a two-host AI conversation. This is powered by Google's NotebookLM, and it's designed for a deeper, more dynamic kind of book analysis.
So let's set the scene a bit. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he was a trained physician.
Right, a physician, a Victorian gentleman through and through, and just a incredibly prolific author. And that expertise he had in logical reasoning and science, it profoundly shaped Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm. Made him feel brilliant, but somehow believable.
Exactly. And The Sign of Four, published in 1890. That's right when the British Empire was, at its zenith.
A time filled with anxieties, though, about the empire itself, about race, technology.
And definitely the aftermath of the Indian Rebellion of 1857. You
Yeah.
could feel that lingering, casting a shadow over the whole story.
Absolutely. Doyle's first readers, they were generally a literate middle-class British audience. They wanted adventure, sure, but also that intellectual puzzle.
And what's amazing is how it still grabs modern readers, isn't it? It
Right.
still sparks these really crucial discussions about colonialism's legacy, about what justice even means.
Which gets us to the book's purpose, or maybe purposes. Its main job was obviously to entertain. It's an intricate mystery, after all.
But it did more than that. It pulled readers into these bigger conversations about justice, moral ambiguity, what it meant to be British at that time.
Yeah, the whole plot centers around this missing British officer, a stolen treasure from colonial India, the Agra treasure specifically.
And, of course, the investigation led by Holmes and Watson. It manages to blend that suspense, the analytical part, and this, well, surprisingly philosophical tone.
And that blend is just crucial, wouldn't you say? The reason for the book even existing, what rhetoricians call its exigence, it was partly a response to this growing public fascination with science, rationality, social order.
But it also, kind of subtly, critiqued those very myths of empire and progress. Pretty bold for popular fiction back then.
Definitely. Doyle knew his detective fiction. He uses all the conventions, the logical explanations, the red herrings, that big reveal at the end. He uses them to really shape how the audience expects things to unfold, how they experience the story.
So let's dig into how he draws you in, those rhetorical appeals. Let's start with ethos, the
Right.
credibility appeal.
Okay.
It seems so clear how Doyle's medical background feeds into Holmes. His methods are so meticulous, so deductive.
Mm-hmm. You see these early hints of forensic science, right?
Mhm.
Analyzing footprints, knowing about toxins.
Exactly. And it's not just a character quirk. It genuinely makes you trust Holmes's reasoning, both the other characters in the story and us reading it.
Absolutely. And you just cannot forget Dr. Watson here. He's a medical doctor, too. And crucially, he's our reliable narrator.
He gives us that relatable viewpoint.
Right. He kind of grounds Holmes's eccentric genius, makes it less intimidating, maybe, adds this whole other layer of credibility.
It's through Watson's eyes, which are often a bit bewildered but always admiring, that we really get Holmes's brilliance. Makes it feel relatable somehow.
Okay, so then there's the pathos, the emotional hook. This is where Doyle really pulls you into the story's world.
Oh, definitely. He's a master at creating suspense, fear, even wonder. Think about those exotic settings, the descriptions of them.
The foggy London nights.
Yes. And characters like Tonga, the Andaman Islander. Now, his portrayal, it's definitely stirred fear and maybe curiosity in Victorian readers.
And look, we have to acknowledge it reflects the prejudices of the time. It's problematic by today's standards, for sure.
And no question. But it undeniably added to that vivid, unsettling atmosphere Doyle was crafting.
It's a powerful reminder of how stories can both reflect and sometimes reinforce societal views, isn't it?
But the emotional side is also amplified in other ways. Watson's romance with Mary Morstan
That adds a whole different dimension.
does. And the sense of loss, Mary's missing father, the sadness around that, and the tragic results of all that colonial greed, especially what happens with the Agra treasure.
It really shows how deeply personal emotions get tangled up with these huge historical forces within the plot.
He also uses such strong imagery, memorable lines. Holmes is famous, "It is simplicity itself."
Yeah. Which often comes right after he explains something incredibly complicated.
Exactly. It creates this, like, satisfying click for the reader. Everything falls into place. It boosts the emotional payoff and just makes you admire Holmes even more.
And that idea of simplicity, as Holmes puts it, connects right into logos, the logical appeal. Holmes's step-by-step deduction is the prime example here.
The whole plot feels engineered, like an elaborate puzzle.
Precisely. Each clue logically points to the next. It practically invites you, the reader, to join in, to try and solve it yourself.
You're not just watching, you're sort of participating intellectually, trying to connect the dots along with him.
And the way the narrative is structured really helps that logical flow. It jumps between action scenes, Holmes's deductions, and then these crucial backstory segments.
Like Jonathan Small's big confession near the end.
Right. That keeps you intellectually hooked. It lets you piece together the whole picture gradually, just like Holmes is doing. You get those aha moments.
And what's really sharp is Holmes's critique. It's often subtle, but it's there of the official police methods. They seem so, well, illogical sometimes compared to him.
He constantly contrasts his scientific, rational way of thinking with their approach, their failure to connect the dots or see beyond the obvious.
So Doyle positions Holmes's reasoning as this kind of ideal model for rational thought.
Which must have really resonated with his Victorian audience, given their interest in science and rationality that you mentioned earlier.
Okay, so Doyle gets us hooked with these appeals.
Yeah.
How does he keep us there? That's where his skill with language and structure really comes into play. Let's unpack some of those specific devices, the art behind it all.
Good idea. The language and style, for instance, it's quite interesting.
It mixes things up, right? Formal, informal.
Yeah. You shift from Holmes's very technical, precise way of speaking to Watson's style, which is much more accessible, more emotional.
It gives the story different textures, depending on whose head we're in, so to speak.
And the sentence structure does that too. It can be really concise, direct, perfect for deductions, mirroring Holmes's mind.
But then it gets longer, more descriptive, especially for those atmospheric bits or emotional moments, often through Watson.
It keeps the writing lively, stops it from getting monotonous.
Plus, he uses metaphors and similes so effectively, especially describing London, the Thames River, those sort of ominous, creepy settings.
It just makes the atmosphere so tangible. The fog, the gaslight, it's almost a character itself, holding all these secrets.
Structurally, that chronological narrative, it's cleverly broken up by those embedded stories. Jonathan Small's confession is the big one.
And that's not just dumping information. It adds so much depth, so much complexity. It turns a straightforward mystery into something richer, layered, almost like digging through history.
Yeah, definitely. And the way Sign of Four keeps popping up, that phrase, as a motif.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Creates this constant feeling of mystery, this underlying threat hanging over everything.
It's like this whisper of danger that keeps you slightly on edge. What does this sign really mean?
And we also see Doyle using juxtaposition and contrast really effectively.
The obvious one is Holmes versus Watson rationality versus sentiment.
Right, but there are deeper contrasts too, like the supposed glamour and wealth of the British Empire versus its dark and violent origins. The story doesn't shy away from that completely.
And of course, the distinction made between the British characters and the colonial other.
Which leads into some of the more advanced stuff, like allusions. Holmes mentions scientific works, and there are these unsettling nods to historical events like the Indian Rebellion.
And the agri-treasure itself.
Yeah.
It's more than just the object everyone's after, the MacGuffin.
Absolutely. It functions as this powerful symbol. It represents the complicated, often violent legacy of empire. It's like the physical embodiment of the moral cost. It's not just jewels. It's heavy with history and betrayal.
And the irony is just everywhere. This treasure, everyone's obsessed with it.
And it brings nothing but ruin and loss in the end. It's practically cursed.
Right. And also, that irony about the supposed superiority of British society. It gets subtly undermined by the prejudice, the violence that simmers just under the surface right there in London.
It really pushes the reader, doesn't it? It makes you question those assumptions about justice, about civilization, even back then.
So we've kind of peeled back some of these layers of Doyle's storytelling, how he builds suspense, crafts these intellectual puzzles, uses language and structure.
It's quite masterful.
It really is. And as we keep digging into these structures, just a reminder, for more analyses like this, more thought-provoking discussions on literature, you can check out Mindful Moments over on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, they offer AI book analysis, much like this conversation, really designed to spark reflection and rational thought.
Okay, so let's shift focus slightly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the book's lasting impact and, yeah, the controversies too. Did Doyle achieve his purpose?
I'd say largely yes. He definitely creates that suspense, that intellectual challenge. He keeps readers hooked, both emotionally involved and analytically trying to figure things out.
And that mix of adventure, a bit of cultural critique, even the romance subplot. It gave it broad appeal, didn't it? Then and now.
For sure. And, while the book certainly reflected and maybe even reinforced some Victorian ideas about empire, race, class.
He also poked at them a bit, subtly critiqued them.
Exactly. Which means for us, reading it today, it becomes this really valuable lens. We can use it to critically examine those Victorian values and maybe even question our own understanding of history. It's a chance to reflect on how stories shape how we see the world.
But we do need to talk about the ethical side.
We do, because while the logic in the book is a great model for scientific thinking, the portrayal of characters like Tonga,
And other colonial subjects.
yes, seen through that lens of otherness, it clearly reflects and, unfortunately, perpetuates harmful stereotypes from that era.
It's vital to remember that, right?
Yeah.
Those depictions might have been common then, but they're ethically problematic now. We need to read them critically.
Absolutely. And there are also moments of maybe melodrama, some of the heightened emotional scenes.
Could feel a bit over the top to some modern readers. Might undercut the realism a little.
Potentially. It's that tricky balance Doyle was navigating, trying to be thrillingly entertaining, but also aiming for some nuance.
Still, his mastery of the genre is undeniable.
Oh, completely. How he uses all those detective fiction tools, the red herrings to throw you off track, the shifting points of view to build tension, and that big climactic confession where it all comes out.
It maximizes the immersion, the emotional payoff. It's like a masterclass in how to build and deliver a really compelling mystery.
And that core strategy, filtering it all through Watson.
Just genius.
It really is. It lets us experience the exciting action on the surface, but also get glimpses of those deeper psychological things going on. It keeps you engaged and gives you this perfect, relatable way into Holmes's sometimes baffling world.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here? The Sign of Four is just so much more than a gripping mystery novel.
Right. It's a brilliant display of rhetorical skill. It's a book that manages to entertain and educate because it blends logic and emotions so expertly.
You get the thrill of the puzzle, but also this mirror reflecting the complex, sometimes pretty uncomfortable truths of its time.
And it offers such a great chance for, a multi-voice discussion, doesn't it? You can have this internal dialogue between Holmes's logic and Watson's empathy.
Or between how a Victorian reader might have seen it versus how we see it today as critical readers.
Exactly. It really encourages you, the listener, to question the book's underlying assumptions, its historical baggage, while still appreciating just how powerful the storytelling is.
For more exploration, more insightful analysis like this, remember you can check out Mindful Moments.
And our other podcast, too, for deep dives into lots of other fascinating books.
That's right. If this has piqued your curiosity, click the link you see on screen for the in-depth book summary. Definitely subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content like this.
And share this deep dive with anyone else you know who loves to think critically about stories.
Yeah.
You might also consider picking up the book itself, using the link provided.
Absolutely. But most importantly, keep thinking critically. Keep questioning the stories you encounter and ask yourself what they're truly revealing, both about their time and perhaps about ours.